them. Otherwise, save your questions till the end of the tour. Are you taking me behind this?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a good idea.
So this is the kitchen, obviously, as you can see. Some of the features you'll notice right away as you walk into this building are the shape of the ceiling. So the ceiling comes down to the sort of middle for several reasons. The number one reason is rainwater collection. So if you were to look at the roof, the tin on the roof would actually be following these same contours. It would be an inverted roof compared to normal houses like this. So having this shape allows the rainwater to collect in this, and it's tilted very slightly so that all the water will run to that end of the house where our cistern is, where we store all the water. So the other reason for the shape of this roof has to do with thermal conditioning. So obviously we have these windows here, and there is a lot of heat and sunlight that can come through these windows. So having this shape makes it so that the heat will be able to level off, right at this lowest part, and then from there, once it crosses that threshold, will come all the way to the top back of the house, where that skylight is, and the heat will be able to be released through the skylight.
So cool.
Yeah. Okay, so another feature unique to the kitchen is this planter right here. So Earthships were founded in Taos, New Mexico by a man named Michael Reynolds. In the original design, planters extend all along the south side of the house. And that works really well in a climate like New Mexico, where Taos is, because it's a very dry climate. Here in Austin, Texas, though, it's very hot and humid. So if we were to have plants all along the inside south part of the house, it would just make the house extremely humid and uncomfortable. So that's why when my dad designed it, he decided we'd have a little one right here just for, sake of having a planter. But we wouldn't extend it along the whole side of the house. Another thing that you might see different compared to Earthships in Taos, New Mexico, is the vertical windows. The first designs of Earthships had windows that sloped a tiny bit inward because just of the climate that's unique to New Mexico. Winters can be a bit colder there, so you want sunlight to be able to come in easier. But here in Texas, it's pretty hot and humid year-round, so my dad decided that he would have vertical windows, and I think he's like the first one that decided to do that.
Cool.
Interestingly now, though, later designs of Earthships, I think in a way to be able to extend them into different kinds of climates, more Earthships now, they're being built with vertical windows like this. And then on the outside of those vertical windows, there'll be a greenhouse that will have the slanted roof on it. So that kind of helps put the moisture and heat and humidity outside of the house, if that is something you're trying to avoid, just like we would want to here in Austin, Texas. So that's sort of my dad's next project idea, is to build a greenhouse over on that side of the house. Just one last thing is the overhang you'll see on the roof is extremely important. The whole angle that the house is facing is also important too. The south side is the side with the windows, because this is where the sun will help the house maintain its temperature the best. So this overhang here is also very specific length and height, so that in the summer, when the sun is higher in the sky, it will go over the overhang and will not come directly into the house. In the winter, however, when the sun is lower in the sky, it will go lower and it'll come in through the house and be able to heat it up. Yeah. Cool. All right, well, let's continue on.
Let's do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it.
Let's see. What else? Okay, so just looking at the walls around here, you'll realize that they're really thick. So the base is made out of tires, which are packed with about 200 pounds of dirt, and they have to be manually packed by hand with a sledgehammer. There's just no other way to do it yet. So that really just consists of you putting a tire on the ground, getting wheelbarrows of dirt, putting them in there, and then just standing there with like a sledgehammer pounding it. And my dad did pretty much every single tire here.
That's what he was saying.
Yeah. And so around those tires, you can put things like cereal boxes in the bottom to keep the dirt from leaking through. But then you'll put, I think, 3 layers of adobe on them. So and adobe is just a mixture, very traditional, used throughout a lot of places. It's just dirt, water, sand, straw, and then in this case boric acid, because we know that there's termites around here and we don't want to like get our house eaten by termites and stuff. So the first one is just to fill in the gaps in the tires, and then the second one is to kind of flatten it out. And once you do that, you start poking holes in it with your fingers, so that by the time you put on the third layer, it'll hustle into grip too. And that's when you go around to make it really smooth. And so if you look really carefully, like, it's not a perfect finish. You'll see bits of straw from the adobe in here. And yeah, so these are load-bearing walls. They bear the full weight of the roof. And the whole idea about them being so thick is that they can maintain a very stable temperature, just like a cave would. So yeah. And the back of the house, over here you'll see there's no windows on the north side of the house. And that's because the whole north side of the house is built into a hill. Well, traditionally, earthships are built into hills. We didn't really have any hills here, so we just kind of put a bunch of dirt on the back of the house to simulate a hill. Yeah. All right. Trying to think if there's anything I'm forgetting. Other rooms. So,
And is your entire water system like based from the rainwater
yeah,
that comes down?
that's
So,
the only water
all
we
the
have.
running
Like
water?
toilet, dishwasher, hose, drinking water, it's all rainwater.
So,
Yeah. So another unique feature is the bathroom. We do not have composting toilets. We tried having composting toilets and they were terrible. We must have just had a really bad version or something, but yeah, we tried them for a while, like a year, and they just did not work. So we have flush toilets now. This is not adobe, this is stucco, because adobe is not waterproof. So, but this is another example of using recycled materials, just like tires, to build. So the inside of this is made out of just concrete and filled in with cans, because we don't need solid concrete.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a good space filler that keeps you from using resources that would have otherwise been used. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, and then these just like interior walls are just, you know, sheetrock, which is kind of funny to think about because like a lot of people, this is their normal walls.
Yeah.
Hey there, Cyrus.
This is the lizard. Huh?
An integral part of any Earthship.
I think I pretty much explained everything. But if we could go outside, it's kind of dark, but we have our main cistern is pretty much like connected to the house. Right on the other side of this wall is a big concrete cistern, and that's why this is usually the coolest area in the house, especially back here because it has this other whole wall separating it from the windows. Also, there's like AC in there. We put like AC units. But in addition to that main tank, we have, I think, 3 other tanks that we fill with water. So usually we're able to last through the summer unless anything drastic happens.
Damn.
Yeah.
You should explain that your dad built this whole entire thing.
Oh yeah. My dad started building this when I was 2 years old. So I don't know how long ago that was. How old am I now? 21?
You
So, yeah,
So 93, 94?
Yep, 93, 94, something like that. Yeah, and he was going to build a straw bale house. He was inspired first because we used to live in a very like normal house, and it was one winter he went to change a light bulb and he unscrewed the light bulb and cold air just came rushing out of the hole in the ceiling, and he was like, wow, this is a terrible design. And so he just started looking into it, and he was interested in straw bale, and then he found out about earthships and decided to build an earthship and just went at it like that. And I think it took about like 8 to 10 years before we moved in. But
So were you just living in a normal house in the interim?
Yeah, we moved out. We lived into a tiny little rental house in the meantime, just because we needed, you know.
Those are fireworks.
Yeah.
Just laugh.
I know it's Texas, but yeah, those were fireworks, don't worry.
Do you guys have any questions?
No, I guess I'm probably gonna post this on Facebook. And then,
Yeah, you should actually put it on YouTube too, because like I've always wanted to make a video about this Earthship, just like because people are so interested in them, and
Sure.
I don't think a lot of people know that there's one in Austin.
I'll also maybe take some pictures or videos around the outside at some
Yeah.
point, like maybe tomorrow morning.
Yeah,
or
you can
something.
actually like see the tires in it.
Yeah, see the tires, see the garden, all that
Yeah.
stuff.
So yeah, it's just supposed to be very self-sufficient. If we wanted to make it even more self-sufficient, we could get like a windmill and solar panels. We just don't have the money for it right now, unfortunately. And we do have a big garden outside to grow food to make us even more self-sufficient. Yeah.
Coolio.
Earthships rock.
Earthships rock! I love Earthships.
It's been awesome
Alright.
staying here.
Yeah, I'm glad you
It has been really fun. And